Hello and welcome to the final of the Magnus Carlsen Tool Opera Euro Rapid Tournament. And the two finalists are Wesley and Magnus Carlsen. So even Magnus Carlsen, after going to tiebreak with Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and actually not just tiebreak but Armageddon, he did manage to qualify for the final. So in this video I'm going to show you the last game actually from the first day. So what happened before is that Magnus Carlsen did manage to score one. Actually that was a very strange game because Wesley showed amazing preparation, and when Magnus Carlsen played actually a losing move in the opening, which was still very likely analyzed by Wesley Wesley just forgot how to win and lost the game eventually. So that meant that Magnus Carlsen is up by a point, and now so the score is 2-1 to Carlsen, and Wesley absolutely has to win to equalize in the first set. So if he wins, then they tie in the first set. If it's a draw or Carlsen wins, then Carlsen takes home the day one. So let's get started because it's a very nice game. So e4, e5. This is actually how the first game went. It was also e4, e5. Bishop c4, bishop c5. So the first game actually went with knight f6 and this super sharp line of knight g5 and so on. But this time Carlsen decided to play something else. He went for bishop c5. I mean, eventually essentially in the first game he was lost, so he had to do something else. c3, knight f6, d4, all again a very mainline theory. Bishop b5, knight e4 takes. This has all been played actually thousands of times, even by both players, by both colors. Actually, Carlsen plays this with both color. Bishop e3, bishop g4, h3, bishop h5, queen c2, all the best moves. Wesley is really an expert on these openings. Also, he actually recently published a very detailed course on 1e4, so he knows these things by heart. Bishop g6, queen b3, knight e7. This is really all theory. The bishop comes back. So black's sort of best piece is obviously this e4 knight. So white would like to eliminate this by putting the queen on c2, and then all these guys would be eyeing the knight. So now comes knight f5, queen c2, and this is where we are going to play something else than previous theory. So here there are many games with knight takes e3 and f takes e3, knight g3. There are really many games, at least like 5 games. Even Andrei Yesipenko, who beat Magnus Carlsen in the previous Oberdober tournament, even he played this with the black pieces. There are also Stockfish Lila, like engine games in this one. So this is theory. However, Carlsen decided to deviate and play the move knight takes c3. And now we will see that black actually takes everything, knight takes e3 as well. So for the time being, black has the bishop pair, but this bishop is obviously going to be traded. Carlsen does this immediately. So here, if we stop for a second, we see that white has a very nice central control, all these pawns in the center. However, black has the dark square bishop, which is for the time being very restricted. So black needs to act immediately, and Carlsen strike in the center with f6. Now Wesley comes with c4, challenging this guy. So what white would really like to get is some clarification in the center and making sure that some of his central pawns are actually remaining, and either some e5 square for the knight or some way if the d4 e5 pawns remain, then somehow some restriction of this bishop. That's kind of the plan for white. Now comes bishop c7, c takes d5, and the queen takes back. So we will see that white is going to have 2 pawns in the center, while black is going to have a lot less. So now comes e takes f6, and indeed in this position Carlsen decided that he absolutely needs some control in the center, so he kind of violating the rule of taking with the rook, which would be the more natural way, but he realizes that he needs some control in the center, so he puts with the pawn, takes with the pawns to make sure that the e5 square is at least somewhat controlled. And here actually comes a very strange sort of set of moves. So in this position, it's very clear that white's plan should be to put the knight on f5. So you should really start knight h5, knight f5, knight h4, knight f5. This should be your next 2 moves. However, Wesley actually is delaying this plan. Very strange. He first plays the move e4, which is pretty much disbalancing his own structure, and also allows black to make some good moves with the queen. So here you could play the move queen d6, and that would actually make sure that the knight for the time being is glued to the f3 square, because if you go away then the queen enters, so you can't do this one. And the dark side of this is that white can win a pawn with queen b3. However, then black is going to get quite some counterplay. So you remove this one, and then you can either go against these pawns, or you can try chasing the queen. Now this queen is really on the side of the board, so here black has more than good counterplay. So clearly in this position queen d6 was a good move. However, Carlsen played the move queen d7. So this makes sure that you're not losing a pawn immediately, because now you can't take, because there will be a discovered attack with bishop h2, so you can't do this one. However, now again your chance is to put your knight again on h4 and f5. And what comes is again quite strange, because Wesley again just plays the move rook d1, still does not put his knight on f5, but after rook d8, finally Wesley does play the move knight h4, and now we can actually see that black's position is really bad. This f6 pawn is weak, the knight on f5 is going to be an incredibly dominant piece, it has an outpost on the light squares, this bishop can never attack. That is the beautiful center. White has a clear and sizable advantage. Now comes king h8, very logical, get this guy out of the open G file, knight f5, and Carlsen decided that now he absolutely has to do something, so he decides to change the structure. He plays the move c5, which is, in my opinion, it's actually quite a good idea. The point is that now, I mean, white is pinned along the d file, you can't take, you have to push. And now after bishop e5, the dark squared bishop is going to be quite strong. There are all these weaknesses along the white king, and also one day you might put your bishop on d4 as well. So now comes rook b1, b6, logical move to protect all these pawns. Comes queen c4, rook e1, king h1, again quite logical, getting the king out of both the half open g file but also putting on a light square. And now comes bishop d4. The point is obviously that you attack this guy. If you take, then there is rook takes e4, intermediate move. So white needs to protect from f4. And here actually I invite you to stop the video, because there's a nice way to get some practical chances, especially in a rapid game. So how would you continue with black here? And actually the time situation is that Wesley was quite ahead on the clock. So Carlsen only had like 4 or 5 minutes, I think 4 minutes at this point. Wesley still had almost 10, maybe 8. So it's a good idea to change the position and try to get to a position which is quite easy to play with back. And the way to do this is actually sacrificing the exchange. This is what Carlsen did, a very good move in my opinion, very good practical move. Now white takes an e4, queen takes f5, and actually for the time being this bishop is doing quite a good job of closing the lines. After rook e1 you can actually put it back to e5, which is the best move in the position, and then white, it remains closed, and white needs to show well how he can actually break through. So the best move in this position would be bishop e5, and then white can start to regroup, maybe rook f1, queen g6, rook g4, trying to attack this actually quite weak black king. However, the game is very far away from being over. But white is up in exchange, so Wesley's chances to equalize the match is still high. However, in this position, Magnus Carlsen just very uncharacteristic from him usual, but in this tournament it happens quite often. He just blunders. He plays the move rook takes d5, and here actually I invite you to stop the video and find a way to finish off Carlsen, because this rook takes d5 is just losing on the spot, and the problem is that the king is just super weak, and now the rook actually has left the first rank of blacks to the 8th rank. And Wesley found the best way to win the game, that is just play the move rook g4. There is a very strong mate in one threat, and there is nothing black can do about it. If you remove your rook, now the white queen enters, there is checkmate here, there is checkmate here, and there is nothing black can do about it. If you just bring your queen back, then actually white takes quite a nice checkmate. And otherwise, how the game went on is that after rook g4, Carlsen played the move h5. However, Wesley just blitzed out the winning moves, check here, other check here, and the queen enters the game, queen h6, and there is no way to stop queen h6 and checkmate afterwards. So if you take here, that's just mate in 2. There's a check here, and there's a check here, and there is no escape for the black king. So amazing win by Wesley. He equalized the equalized the score on demand, beating Magnus Carlsen, the world champion. Again, quite uncharacteristic blunder from Carlsen, but the pressure was really high. Wesley played incredibly well in this game. And as I mentioned in the other white game of Wesley, there was also a lot of pressure on Magnus, but then the tables turned at some point, unfortunately for So, but day one is gone. They are all tied, and yeah, everything is gonna be decided tomorrow on the final way. So see you tomorrow.